Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to our webinar series on the 5 dimensions of well-being, prioritizing pastoral care, encouraging clergy to take care of themselves across all dimensions of well-being. My name is Kelly Whittick, and I'm the Director of Health and Wellbeing here at Westpath. I'd like to start by talking a little bit about a clergy well-being survey that Westpath has been doing since 2012. We now do it every other year. You can see the QR code that's available here on the screen if you want to take a closer look and look at the results themselves. In 2023, we conducted our 7th version of this clergy well-being survey. And it's something that we've been taking a look at. It's now been over a decade. It's a very rigorous process that we use. We do a random sample of clergy in the U.S. This year, we reached out to 5,000 clergy. We got about 25% responded and participated in the survey. And then the organization that we partnered with to conduct the survey actually compared those results back several years and compared them to national benchmarks. So we can really look at that and watch and see how clergy well-being is changing over the years. And because it's a random sample and done so rigorously, we feel pretty confident about extrapolating and generalizing that information and those findings to the total U.S. clergy population. So again, grab that QR code and take a closer look at the results of that survey and prior versions of that survey. When we did look back over 10 years, we saw, unfortunately, that the overall well-being is declining in clergy. And it wasn't great 10 years ago, to be honest. So this is just one example. This is a metric called perceived well-being. So in this one, individuals are asked, overall, how would they rate their health and well-being? And if you look at the bottom, that the blue and the green are kind of the good or the best numbers, and that's clergy who would rate themselves as having excellent or very good well-being. And you can see that from 2013 down to 2023 that's declined steadily from year to year. And then if you look at the top, the orange and the red segments, those are clergy who would describe their well-being as fair or poor. So again, you can see from 2013 down to 2023 how that has steadily increased. So overall, we're concluding that, clergy well-being is not moving in the right direction, and it's definitely something that we're all very concerned about. Now, I do want to underscore that at Westpath, we do not believe that clergy well-being rests solely in the hands of the clergy person to fix. Now, we all know that individual choices do matter. We all struggle every day to make good choices around physical activity, sleep, stress management, what we put in our bodies from a food standpoint. But that's only one piece of the puzzle. The other piece to really think about is the environmental factor. So what is the environment that clergy are working in? What does that church environment feel like? What does that United Methodist system look like? And how does that make it easier or harder for clergy to tend to their well-being, to prioritize their well-being? So yes, accountability is key. It does matter the choices that our clergy make. But identifying and advocating for potential change in systems is also important, and that's something that we'll consider in this series as well. So we're excited to introduce this series, which is really kind of an offshoot of a partnership we've been doing with the General Board of Higher Education and Ministry this year, which is to really look at all 5 dimensions of well-being. And we've done an email outreach series focusing on each dimension. We started in February, and we've done 4 dimensions so far. We've got 1 more to go. And what we're doing with these outreach emails is sharing these trends with you all, and then offering some resources both for individuals and how individual clergy people can take advantage of resources available to improve their own well-being and improve their own choices and behavior, but also an opportunity to give us feedback about how you think the UMC systems make it easier or harder to focus on that dimension of well-being. So it's a great opportunity to say, hey, I have a really hard time, keeping track of my activity because I don't have any time in a typical day, or I never know exactly what time I'm going to have in a typical day to go to the gym or to take a walk because my schedule is unpredictable. Or I have too many evening meetings and it's making it hard for me to plan a healthy meal at home. And so those are the types of feedback items that we'd like to see, only what impacts you as clergy. And the objective behind this series is to really inspire and influence change, not just for individuals, but for us as a connection overall in the United Methodist Church. So again, I have a QR code there on the screen. That's a great place if you want to take a look at some of the emails that we've sent previously and some of the resources we've sent previously. And then if you haven't already given your feedback, it's a great opportunity to do that. So this is the first in a 3-webinar series, and this webinar is focused on financial well-being. We do have additional webinars coming up in October and November, focusing on the other 4 dimensions of well-being: physical and emotional in October, and then spiritual and social in November. So we hope that you'll bookmark these, save the dates, register for them, and go ahead and take advantage of the entire series, because we really believe, and we have good data to support, that all of the dimensions of well-being really matter. So today we're going to dig into financial well-being. And so we want to talk a little bit about how important financial well-being is to personal health overall. When you think of health, you may not, financial well-being may not be the first thing you think of. But I think if we look deeper, we can all think about ways that, when finances are good and we're feeling comfortable financially, it really lowers our stress level and opens up possibility to eat healthier and to take advantage of activity opportunities. Whereas if we're really feeling stretched from a financial standpoint, we might take shortcuts on our eating, which might be less healthy. We might not be able to take advantage of activity options. And so it really does make a difference. We want to talk a little bit about the current state of financial well-being across the United Methodist Church, and we'll look back to our clergy well-being survey for that. And then I'm going to invite my colleague Todd Creviston in to talk about personal habits and actions that you can take as clergy to really enhance your financial well-being. So this is that individual accountability part, because that does matter. And then at the end, we're going to come back and acknowledge and talk about how to share feedback on how UMC systems may make it easier or harder for clergy to focus on their financial well-being. And we're very interested in that feedback from you. So let's start with taking a look at the clergy well-being survey from the results from 2023, specifically at the financial well-being sections. Now, there were 2 important questions that we wanted to call out here. First of all, both of these dropped back to levels that they were at before 2021. So when we took this survey in 2021, we saw a little bump up in financial well-being reported by clergy, but now in 2023, we're dropping right back down to the levels that we saw in 2019 and prior. So almost 3/4 of clergy feel like their financial situation is at least slightly stressful. So that kind of goes back to how financial well-being really ties into other dimensions of well-being and why that's so important. And then almost half of clergy feel like they're not confident that they're on track for a comfortable retirement. And of course, at WestPath, that's something that we care very deeply about. That's kind of where things are at. Most clergy aren't feeling great about their finances. And so overall, the financial well-being of clergy does leave some opportunities for improvement. So again, in this webinar ahead, I'm going to turn it over to Todd, and he's going to talk about some of the individual steps that people can take, that clergy can take to improve financial well-being, and then we'll come back together in a little bit to talk about looking at things from a more systemic lens. So Todd, over to you.
Thank you, Kelly. That was wonderful information and provides the foundation for why we are here today. So welcome. Thank you so much for attending today. Let's continue this webinar by taking a look at some of the things that you can begin today to help improve your financial well-being. So we have a list of things that we're going to discuss today. They're all basically right here. Many of these are part of that financial planning process. So the first step is to outline your financial goals. It's important to understand where you want to go financially. Ideally, we're all saving for retirement. But up until retirement, what are you saving for? What are your priorities? This requires us to identify and track our sources of income. It requires us to build a budget to figure out what we're spending our money on. Next, determine the cash flow. There's income coming in and there's expenses going out. So we'll talk about calculating your cash flow. We'll also talk about calculating your net worth. And then, very important, managing your debt. As we heard, debt is a consistent source of stress for clergy and laity. And then we'll talk about saving for your retirement and what that looks like. There's a number of resources that we'll cover today that can help you. And Kelly will come back on to close out a resource, a community resource that is available. So to begin with, we look at goals and we categorize them by the time frame that it will take to complete that goal. For example, a short-term goal are things that you'll complete within 2 years. That might be saving for a car for a down payment, or saving for the full amount so that you don't have a car payment. It could be going on a vacation. It could also be debt reduction. So that's just to get you started thinking about short-term goals. Next up, medium-term goals. So these are goals that you'll accomplish or you'll need that money within 2 to 7 years. This might include saving for a house, saving for a down payment, getting married, starting a family. All of those fit nicely into medium-term goals. Long-term goals are 7 years or more, and this would include education, saving for retirement. The month my kids were born, my wife and I began saving for their education. Just had a milestone where my youngest started college this fall. Thankfully, we have some money set aside. We've been saving for him to go to college for the last 18 years. So we're currently tapping into some of those funds for him. Next up in this process is to track your expenses. It's important to see where your money is going, and so that you can prioritize your money. I mentioned that my youngest just went off to college. So my wife and I sat down end of July, beginning of August to kind of redo our budget to see what it looked like. And we noticed there was a number of expenses that we no longer needed. For example, the Xbox Live account, we canceled. We figured that he would be busy in school studying. That'll save us $18 a month. So that was a decision that we made, and an easy decision that we made. I use the notebook method. So there's 3 ways listed here to track your expenses. The first is the notebook method. We actually see that in the picture on the right. It's just a notebook. My notebook is nowhere near that neat or that clean. It's pretty ratty because it gets carried to different places for me to work on our expenses, like the beach or out and about. But the notebook method, you just write down all of your expenses for the particular month. You also want to note payments or expenses that don't occur every month. For example, our water and refuse bill comes every other month. So I make sure that I note that in the month that I'm not paying so that I keep track of that expense. Some other examples of that might be car insurance, where you pay quarterly, homeowners insurance, where you pay annually, or renter's insurance. But you basically just write it down in a notebook. The next up would be using a spreadsheet, some sort of electronic tool. That could be Excel. Apple has a spreadsheet, and so does Google. So it's important to pick what's comfortable for you and because if it's comfortable for you, you're more likely to use it. Next up would be a personal finance software that might include mint.com, that might include Quicken. So those are also good examples of that. Pick one way to write down or keep track of all of your expenses. EY Navigate also has a budget tool in there. I took a look at this last week. It's really easy to use and very insightful. So first up, first order of business, begin today tracking all of your expenses. The goal here is to build a budget because that budget is your blueprint for spending and saving. It keeps track of all of the money going out, so you can make trade-offs, you can make decisions on where you're spending money and potentially save some money by eliminating some expenses. So it's nice to see all of that in front of you. A budget also aligns your income to your expenses and also helps you stay within your means and will help you achieve your stated goals, those short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals. That budget is that building block. It's the first building block in your financial plan. Next up in that process would be determining your cash flow. Your cash flow can be positive, meaning you have money left over in a particular month, or it might mean that it's a negative number, and that means that you either went into debt to cover that expense, like a credit card, or you took money out of savings. So cash flow is that the moving your money coming into your bank account and the money moving out. So it's like a budget. It's listing all of your expenses, but it also lists your income. This is a really simple equation. It's your income minus your expenses. What's left over is your cash flow. So in this example, monthly income was $4,000. And what you're recording on that cash flow statement, what you're recording is the money that lands in your bank account, not your gross salary. Your gross salary or gross income would include what you'd pay in taxes and so forth. We want just the money that lands in your account, the amount of money that lands in your account that's either spendable or savable. In this example, $4,000 in monthly income, $3,000 in expenses. What's left over is $1,000. $1,000 cash flow. That's a positive number. That's a good thing. That means there's $1,000 in this particular month that you can use to address debt, savings, or other future needs. While we talk about debt, debt is a significant source of stress for clergy and laity. Proper debt management can help increase our financial well-being. So as we can see here, looking at the top and bottom rows of this table, the statistics relating to debt management, generally we see that a significant percentage of clergy can use help with their finances. Debt is that consistent source of anxiety. We hope that today's webinar will help fill some of those gaps. As we proceed, speaking about debt management, it should be mentioned that there is good debt. For example, having a mortgage on your home is good debt. And remember, it's not about having debt that's problematic, but it's the type of debt and the expense that certain debt that we have can be wearing on us. For example, credit card debt is an unsecured personal loan, essentially. Those have higher interest rates. That means a larger portion of that payment, if we don't pay it off each month, is dedicated to interest. And that means you're spending more than you probably should on that particular debt. So while we're talking about debt, it's important to establish an emergency fund. An emergency fund is recommended to be between 3 and 6 months worth of your payments of your income, so that if you lose a job, you have a medical or dental emergency, maybe unexpected home repair, maybe car troubles, maybe unplanned travel, you're able to use those funds to pay for that unexpected expense instead of using revolving debt like a credit card. Once you have your emergency fund established, consider consolidating your debt. That means that you're going to potentially combine student loans or personal loans or maybe even credit card debt. And you'll use a debt consolidation loan to refinance many other types of debt. So you can consolidate that debt, whether it's student loan, personal loan, credit card debt. You can consolidate that with another, hopefully lower cost, lower interest rate debt. Another thing you could do with your debts is to prioritize your payments. And there really is no right or wrong way to go about it. You just select a strategy that you're most comfortable with. For example, experts recommend that you should pay the debt with the highest interest rate. Or they can also recommend to pay the debt off with the lowest balance so that you see that there's some success there and it's positive, and then you take the money that you're using for that loan that you just paid off and apply it to the others. So in order to prioritize your debts, what you'll need to do is get the statement to figure out what the balance is and then what the interest rate is, and then you could select a strategy to help pay that off. And as a word of caution, borrow wisely in the future. When I go to a big box store and we have to buy a clothes washer or a dishwasher, the first thing most of those big box stores ask you is, would you like to open up a credit card to cover the cost of this purchase? And my wife and I are in the habit of saying no. We feel we have a credit card that we use for those types of expenses that aligns with what we're looking for as far as rewards go, interest rate, and things of that nature. So borrow wisely in the future to keep you from getting back into debt. Financial planning is really about trade-offs and choices. An easy trade-off for me, when I first started working, I was buying lunch just about every day, so buying lunch out. And then when you sit down and figure out what you spent the last month on food, I have been bringing lunch to work for the last probably 30 years. That's an easy thing for me to do to save some money. Debt reduction should remain a priority. Always be vigilant of that, because reducing debt improves your cash flow. It decreases the amount of money that's flowing out of your bank account each month. If it's not flowing out of your bank account making those debt payments, then you have the ability to do something else with that money, whether it's invest it or save it for another goal. Next up, we'll talk about determining your net worth. The net worth statement looks similar to the cash flow statement, except what you're doing the math around is a little different. So in this example of a net worth statement, you're taking all of your assets minus your debts, and what's left over as a net worth. It can be negative. That would not be as desirable as a positive number, but it's a starting point. And you can always put these tactics in place to help reverse that. So with the net worth, the assets would include, if your home is paid off, the home value would be included under assets. If it's not paid off, then it would be the difference between your mortgage and its value. It would also include your retirement accounts, investments, savings, and even automobiles. Caution on automobiles, they are typically a depreciating asset. So the car that you bought brand new or that came to you new to you as a used car, is likely worth the most when you first received it. And as you drive it and as it ages, it declines in value over time. Your debt is mortgage, student loan payments, credit card payments, car loans. All of that would be wrapped up into debt. The difference, what we see here, is a net worth, a positive net worth of $300,000. Most folks that I chat with about calculating a net worth statement, like folks at EY, suggest to do that in January. It's typically when all of our paperwork comes in from the year prior. We're getting ready to fill out our taxes and file our taxes. So January, February is a great time frame for that. Ideally, this should go up. It should go up on a regular basis. The value of your houses typically increase, but the mortgage payment, the mortgage balance for the loan decreases over time. And so hopefully that is trending in that direction, trending in the positive realm. So once we've done all this, it's time to reflect a little bit and to think through what we've just done. And understand that there's fixed spending. For example, a mortgage payment, those tend to go up a little bit based on homeowners insurance and taxes. But that's a fixed amount. That doesn't change that much. But what spending is variable? It could be a gas bill, electric bill, based on the time of year where it's higher or lower. But it's also variable based on what's necessary versus what's discretionary. A necessary payment would be a student loan payment, a mortgage payment, a car payment. There's consequences if those payments aren't made. So those are necessary. The spending that's discretionary, that's wants. So my watch broke. So my want would be an expensive, fancy watch, but my income doesn't support that. So I need a watch, so I'm going to go buy a watch within my price range. Another want or discretionary would be coffee and driving into the office every day. Can you save a little bit of money by making it at home? Can you bring lunch to the office and snacks instead of the snack machine or going out to lunch? Always be vigilant on managing your debt. Always be aware of what your debt payments are, what the term is, what the interest rate is, so that you're managing your debt. You're not chasing it. It's not controlling you. You are in charge of it. And then lastly, think about the extent, how does my spending support my financial goals? Am I spending more than I should? And that means that my short-term goal of saving up enough for a down payment on a car, it's going to delay it. Or potentially, I still go buy the car a year from now, but because my down payment is smaller, now my monthly payment is larger. So make sure that your spending aligns with your financial goals. And there might be a period of time where, for example, around Christmas or the holidays, generally where my expenses increase for Christmas presents for the family and such. I always like to provide a nice spread under the tree. But I've gotten better with my spending. Back when my wife and I first got married, we'd put that on a credit card and then spend the rest of the year paying it off. So once we started having kids in the early 2000s, we started putting money away beginning in January to cover those expenses for Christmas. So we're not going into debt just to have a nice Christmas. So the next section is saving for retirement. And if you've been on WestPath webinars around pre-retirement or retirement, what we're going to cover are all the different plans and a couple other areas. So first off, it's important to know what your Social Security benefit is. Social Security won't cover everything. Social Security, it was only intended to provide a portion of your monthly income. So it won't cover everything, right? It'll cover a portion of it. So if you're making approximately $54,000 a year, the benefit that you receive is about 40% of your monthly income. So where's the other 60% coming? From these plans shown here. Personal and savings and investments. You might have an IRA or a Roth IRA. And then for a clergy and lay, you're likely in these WestPath retirement plans. So CRSP is Clergy Retirement Security Plan. That's where we are today. Service in CRSP. From then we go back time a little bit to Ministerial Pension Plan, or MPP. That covered service from 1982 through December of 1980. December of 1982 through December of 2006. Got my dates messed up a little bit. UMPIP is the voluntary plan. You're contributing to that plan from your paycheck, and that's true for both lay and clergy. Compass was passed this General Conference of 2024. Compass will begin January 1 of 2026. And CRSP will get end dated December of 2025. So no additional contributions or service will be allocated to CRSP beginning January 1 of 2026. I mentioned Social Security, and it's important to know what that benefit looks like. Years ago, Social Security Department, they used to send out the annual statements. They no longer send out those statements. Those statements used to show what we earned in each of the years of our working career, and then it would provide an estimate of full retirement age if we took it early, and then if we delayed the benefit up until the age of 70. So that no longer comes to us in the mail, but you're able to get all of that information if you sign up for a My Social Security account at ssa.gov. So they take their security very seriously. They're going to ask you a number of questions in that process of setting up that account, and you'll be able to see that. I set mine up December of 23. That was one of my goals to complete in 2023. Got it done in December, and I noticed that there's a 2-year period of time where it says I wasn't making, where I didn't earn any income, and that's not true. So I'm working on getting that resolved. It's better to do it now than, if I'm 67 and I wanted to start my benefit next month, that might be more difficult to do. So you're able to review all of your earnings and review what your benefit looks like early, full retirement age, and even what it looks like if you delay it. So definitely worth the 5-10 minutes of time in setting up that account. For your UMPIP account, these are the 2 most common ways to contribute. First is a before-tax contribution. The majority of participants in that plan are contributing on a before-tax basis. So that means that those contributions come off your paycheck before you pay taxes. So that means it lowers your federal income tax in the year that you're contributing. When you take a distribution, you'll be taxed as ordinary income. Clergy also have the ability to use that housing allowance exclusion to potentially lower their tax bill. We added Roth contributions. These are Roth contributions to your UMPIP account. We added these, about 2017, 2018, I believe. These are an after-tax contribution. And what that means is, with the Roth, is that when you take a distribution, that distribution is tax-free as long as you began contributing at least 5 years before your first withdrawal, and you're 59 and a half years of age or older. So if you meet both the criteria, you won't pay federal taxes on that distribution. EY can help you sort through those 2 different contributions to figure out what your contribution should look like. Should it be all Roth? Should it be before tax? Should it be a combination? that is a wonderful conversation to have with an EY financial planner. So now let's talk about the new plan, Compass. So with Compass, there are 3 different types of monthly contributions. There's a flat dollar contribution. This is made by your church, your annual conference, your employer. So you'll start off with $150 per month. So everyone gets that's in the plan. And this is a clergy plan. So this is designed to help lower paid clergy. That amount will increase 2% per year in $5 increments. Okay, so that will go up over time. And then you'll receive 3% of your annual plan compensation under that paid dependent contribution. So just being part of the plan, you'll automatically get 3% of your pay. And then there's a matching contribution. So you get matched dollar for dollar up to 4% of your pay. So if you're contributing 2%, you'll get a 2% match. If you contribute 4%, you'll get a 4% match. If you're contributing more than 4%, that's great for you, that's wonderful, but you'll still get that 4% match. Some additional features that are designed to boost retirement savings. So clergy student loan debt. If you are making qualified student loan payments, you can actually receive credit for that. So it's like you are contributing to your to the Compass plan. So if you're making qualified student loan payments, you'll actually get credit for that. You'll actually get a contribution into your Compass plan based on making those loan payments, and that's up to 4%. The parsonage value increased. It's now up to 35%. So that increases the parsonage value in calculating plan compensation, again, elevating the amount that's going in. And then a couple of automatic features, automatic enrollment, so everybody's automatically enrolled when they begin. Automatic escalations, which is important. I like to say, contribute what you can reasonably afford, and then make a plan to increase that over time. With an automatic escalation, it's already built in that it'll escalate. And then that means that you're contributing more each year. So we wanted to reinforce that you're not alone. And we see that from the research that Westpath has done and the research that GBHEM has done. So these are resources that were put together to help you. And we'll review each of these in a little bit more detail. So this has been a wonderful partnership with the United Methodist Publishing House, especially their printing and publishing arm known as Abingdon Press. It brings everything together for a healthy conversation about faith, finances, along with tools for clergy, church member, and the community to take a deep dive into their spending, earning, saving, giving, and the debt that they have. So you may see some familiar faces here. This is a collaborative effort covering a diversity of perspectives. We created 6 short videos featuring United Methodist financial leaders to accompany these sessions. Those are on a DVD or streamable through Amplify Media. Saving Grace explores 5 financial topics with biblical and sound economic grounding and Wesleyan values. Saving Grace provides tools to build a spending plan, a financial budget to look honestly at where your money goes, and to see so that we can be free from worry, uncertainty, and create a path to the reality that we desire. This is truly fruitful work. We like to call out that there's 3 chapters specifically for pastors. These are useful for all clergy. These chapters address practical topics related to personal and professional financial well-being. These chapters have received great feedback and gratitude from pastors saying this information isn't easily available in other educational settings and very important content. And here are just some highlights for the course. So it's not about getting rich, it's about doing the most with what you have. And it's about saving and investing what you have. There's basic tools in that workbook. There's also a leader guide that helps to direct the leader of the course through these 6 different sessions. So we've invited United Methodist pastors to lead the videos and to offer sound financial wisdom in the supplemental videos. These 6 courses on the fundamentals of personal finance, these are 6 sessions on the fundamentals of personal finance. As Tom Berlin points out in the promotional video, Jesus talks about money more than any other topic in Scripture. So it's time to pull together this Wesleyan resource for our church leaders and congregations. There is a participant workbook and a clergy workbook, as well as a leader guide. If you've been thinking about leading Saving Grace in your conference, but you have not scheduled a group, now is a great time. And what we see here on the left, both of these QR codes, the QR code on the left will take you to Westpath's Financial Wellbeing resource page. On the right will take you specifically to Saving Grace. It looks like we have a session that just started last week. This QR code will take you to a terrific video of Cynthia Dobke, who works here at Westpath. She's interviewing Reverend Kerry James Jr. It is a terrific video and a terrific interview on financial well-being. And then EY Financial Planning Services are available to everyone who maintains a $10,000 balance. This includes clergy and laity. EY shortened their name a couple of years ago. They used to be known as Ernst & Young. They now have shortened their name to EY. They offer confidential professional financial counseling at no additional cost. We like to say that it's confidential. It is. So if you haven't told anyone your plan to retire yet, that's okay. You can share that with your financial planner. It's important for them to know because they are going to help you get everything aligned for that retirement date. It's unlimited hours. It's all done telephonically. There's no sales pitch. It's objective. They get paid a salary. The financial planners get paid a salary. It's not commissions based. So they are there to provide recommendations that are in your best interest. Not every retirement plan or not every retiree is the same. We're all different. So if you get advice from another retiree, it might not align with your particular plan. EY will personalize that for you. You can begin their conversations with them at that phone number. I mentioned the EY Navigate website. That's the URL to set that up. Lots of tools, lots of tips located there. Well worth the time putting that together. Here are some common reasons to talk to them. This isn't comprehensive. These are just many of the different reasons we hear of clergy calling. Build a budget. Should you choose Roth contributions or before tax? They can help determine your budget, calculate your net worth, calculate your cash flow. They can help with buying a home, debt reduction, purchasing a major appliance. Really, no question too big, no question too small. And I've seen the comprehensive plans that they've put together for clergy, and it is quite remarkable. GBHEM offers scholarships. The application opens up in December, January of each year. Submitting one application per year will allow you to be screened for all of the eligible programs that you might qualify for. There's 3 basic buckets that the scholarships land in: a general scholarship, HBCU scholarship, and then specifically looking for a career and ministry scholarship. You can go to the website there and search through all those different opportunities. I mentioned this, I believe, earlier. You can actually set up a consultation with one of the benefit educators. That would include me, Bob Christoffel, who's answering the questions on the back end, as well as Cheryl Hatcher. Cheryl Hatcher is a benefit educator. Bob is the manager of benefit education, and Frank O'Brien is our 4th benefit educator. So what you'll do is just go to that URL there. You'll pick the date and time that you want it to meet. You'll get assigned a benefit educator. We'll send you a Teams meeting invite at the date and time. You'll open it up. I'll open it up. We secure the call, just like you're calling into customer service. Once we secure the call, we share your benefits access screen, and then it's your time. We can review, run projections, teach you how to navigate the website. So you'll dictate what we do during that 30-minute session. If we have more to talk about, we can always set up another consultation. So now I'd like to turn it back to Kelly to talk about resources that are available to churches. Kelly?
Thanks, Todd. So in addition to all of those great suggestions and ideas and resources that Todd shared with respect to individual programs and resources for clergy, we also want to think about what it is that churches and congregations can do to really positively influence clergy well-being, especially on the financial area. So again, kind of cycling back to what we talked about at the beginning, it's not just the individual accountability, but also the environment that somebody works in and lives in that can really contribute to what choices and behaviors they're able to have with respect to financial well-being. So Westpath has this great resource for congregations, whether it's staff parish relations committee, pastor parish relations committees, and so encourage you to scan that QR code. And so what this looks at is 50 ways that congregations can support their clergy well-being overall. And there are about 10 items that specifically focus on financial well-being. So I'm just going to highlight a couple of those today, but then I encourage you to take a look, share that with your congregation, congregational leaders, and really think about, whether the church and the congregation is providing things that are conducive to you as clergy person focusing on your financial well-being. So fair compensation, being compensated for your time is certainly important. Making sure that the pay is coming on time, reimbursements are timely, benefit payments, retirement health benefit payments are timely. That is really crucial because that can cause a lot of strain and stress on clergy when that is not done in a timely manner. Encouraging pastors to be able to make personal contributions to benefit accounts, whether that's a health savings account or your UMPIP, either one of those, we want to make sure that it's easy for clergy to make those choices to set aside funds. And then making sure in the future that you're getting credit for those student loan payments for Compass Match. So making sure that all that reporting is accurate and thorough so that the clergy person is able to take full advantage of all of the benefit and financials that are available to them. So those are just a few ideas. You may have other ideas, and again, I hope that you'll share them with us so that we can learn other ways that churches and the United Methodist Church overall can enhance the financial well-being of clergy. So again, here's that QR code. I showed that earlier. This harkens back to our work with the General Board of Higher Education and Ministry. This is a great place to share your feedback about what UMC systems do positively and what opportunities there are to really improve how the system around you can contribute and positively help you prioritize your well-being. All right, so we're getting to the end here. Your next steps, I hope, after watching this webinar would be think about what individual actions you want to take to improve your financial well-being, and Todd listed a whole bunch of possibilities for you, so I hope that you jotted down a few of those and you'll take advantage of some of those resources, including preparing for your retirement through regular savings, just diligent savings. We hope that you'll share that 50 Ways document with your church so that they can think about how they can help support your financial well-being. And I hope that you'll take the opportunity to share your feedback, if you haven't already, on the survey link that WestPath has done with the General Board of Higher Education and Ministry, because we really do want to take a look, and we will take a look at every comment that you share, and think about ways to kind of lift those up and share them with the broader church. So don't forget, in October and November, we have 2 more webinars looking at the other 4 dimensions of well-being. So we hope to see you here back in October and November for those. And I thank you very much for your time today.